stand and pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is April 15th, 2014. The time is 7:34. The regular meeting of the Greensburg Planning Commission is called to order. Roll call.
Blake?
Here.
John?
Here.
Joy?
Here.
Bruce?
Here.
Glenn?
Yes.
Chevy?
Here.
Tom's not here. Did everyone get a chance to look over the minutes from the January 28th meeting?
Blake, there is one change. Tom was here, but he was not shown as being on there, and he requested that change by email today.
Thank you. Any other corrections? I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. That's corrected.
As corrected.
So moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Minutes pass. New business. Proposed sign ordinance changes. Gary?
Yeah, basically, I passed out a list of temporary signs that I noticed when we passed the sign ordinance last year. For the old ordinance, they were allowed 105 days to have temporary signs, so I was kind of waiting for that period to lapse, even though I knew some of them were out of compliance. But if they didn't come back in, and I knew they were out of compliance. And then when I started looking at the sign ordinance and how to enforce the temporary signs, the provision that was in the old ordinance was left out of the new ordinance, with a $25 a day fine. If you didn't come get an ordinance, which we now do it so much per quarter and everything else. So we really want them to come in and get their temporary sign permit for $10, and then we can work with them and figure out how long they're going to keep it there, and we can police it better going forward. So that was basically my motivation behind that. And then there is one other change that wasn't on the red line that you have. I think I did it on your copy, Chris, on whatever page it was.
Yeah, legal fees to collection.
Yes, on the very last.
Yeah, it's an amendment. It would be to section 155.81, 155.08. I know what it does is say. I've already added some language that, in addition to requiring the purchase of an improvement location permit, a penalty fine of $250 plus legal fees, which that can actually be expanded to say, attorney's fees and court costs shall be assessed against a person, any person, company, professional body, public. So what you have in front of you is the city engineer asked me, brought these concerns to me as far as the language that's currently in the sign ordinance, and asked me to take a look at the provisions that he raised and see if they can be amended in such a way to permit, really what needs to be done. I mean, I believe this body was contemplating the ability to go do these things and take care of temporary signs or portable signs if they're not in compliance. And so that's what I did, is went through the provisions that I thought needed to be addressed and made changes to permit that.
There was really no motivation for anybody to remove one if I sent them away. So I didn't want to go collect a bunch of signs and have them here at City Hall because people would take them down. And now if you got a little teeth to it and say, all right, you're incurring a $25 fine every day that you keep it up past when we worked out our deal when you got your permit, then I think there's more incentive for them to take them down or remove them or follow what you guys have put in place as far as the time frame and how many days per year and how many days per quarter that they were allowed, so.
And if you'd like, I'd be happy to go through and tell you where I actually made the majority of my changes, but I think you'll see them on the red lines. One thing is, we contemplated a temporary sign permit or some sort of form or function to allow for that, but we never actually defined that term. So I did add a definition to a temporary sign permit, which would make it different from an improvement location.
Permanent signs requiring an improvement location permit for $20. But temporary signs, we kind of took out the fee for $10 and the permit requirement, and then the fine for leaving them there longer than they're supposed to.
I also added some explicit language stating that the planning department is authorized to charge a fee of $20 for processing an application for an improvement location permit. And then the majority of the changes that you'll see are to the later sections, specifically section 15580 for sign removal, 15581 for penalty, and then quite a bit of substantial changes to 15582. And no removals per se, mostly it's just adding the language and the teeth that Gary had requested. So.
It's really just things that got left out when we had it, the new one replaced every bit of the old one, so it just needed to be cleaned up a little and added back in.
And these types of provisions, although not the specific language, but these types of permission were under the prior ordinance before even amending this. So you're not adding something that wasn't previously there. You're simply it's one of those sections in the transfer over as we beefed up the portable and temporary sign section. This language was not explicitly put into. And so it is part of the prior ordinance. It's beefed up a little bit here, but otherwise I think this is where it fits within your current sign ordinance.
Discussion from members?
So if you approve this, it will go to City Council next month for their passing of an ordinance based on your recommendation, if you so approve.
And then when it passes that, then.
Then we could start the enforcement process.
And what I would be preparing and you would be approving would be an amendment to, it would be ordinance 2014, I think 5, or whatever it is, and an amendment to the specific provisions that are in here. I don't intend on putting the whole thing back in front of the council, just those specific provisions that are there.
I think it's needed. I think we intended it to be there all along, but we kind of left it out, I guess. But I think it was our intent to be able to enforce the ordinance that we passed, so that's my feeling.
So the first one here should be an application
I think it's just printed, I see it.
The discussion.
No, just a typo. Well, I know that we had talked about requiring a permit, and Yeah, we did, perhaps did overlook, putting some sort of teeth in it, I suppose. But, I don't, has anybody been informed about the requirement for a permit?
Well, they will be informed when we go, say that they're all out of compliance now, that they need to either come in and get a permit or remove their sign. Nobody has
But-
been notified yet, no,
But,
as far as temporary signs.
right. But it does say that they are to come in to have a permit, right?
It didn't, that was excluded from the draft, or the sign ordinance that you adopted last June. They had to come in and get an improvement location permit for a permanent sign. And that was in there, as far as temporary signs and what it costs to get one, was not included in the ordinance that was adopted in June. It was in the prior ordinance, and it was just like, I overlooked it when I reviewed the ordinance, that we didn't have the teeth in it to enforce it.
Actually, I don't know if your copy shows it. Mine shows that temporary sign as if that's not a correct change. I think that is something I added. Section F, the word temporary sign permit was not in this section before I put it in here because I had to go draft it and put the definition in. Which in actuality on F, that should be capitalized, temporary sign permit.
If you still have copies of the old one, it was under the mobile sign, which.
Right, I
was
know,
technically
I know, that's what I was
temporary.
going to. Well, it was clearly the expectation that there was to have a permit, that's for sure.
Because we wanted them to come in and give us the dates that they wanted to keep them, because we didn't want them to forever. And that gives us a
When did
better time frame to put in calendars and check to make sure they're being removed promptly.
When did we pass the ordinance?
I think it went to council in June of last year.
That's right.
Very beginning of June.
So we've been under this for probably 9 months.
Yes.
How come is it only now being brought to our attention?
Because even if they didn't have a permit, where do you start the clock on enforcement? If they had 105 days and you did a new ordinance, it was my feeling you needed to let that 105 days run out.
It's 3 months.
Okay. Well, over the winter, I was not doing it code enforcement things. So, now that the weather's a little nicer, I'm getting out and was trying to do the code enforcement and found that I couldn't. The provision wasn't there. Since the one in June totally replaced everything in the old ordinance. That's what I had to go by.
Understand.
Like, from hearing, not much here, I mean, we have to move forward and get this approved.
I can
Was
recommend
it
that.
$25 per day penalty in the old ordinance?
Yes,
I guess
that has not changed. Look,
Be
look
honest.
under the mobile sign,
I'm on the list, but I guess my first question would be, is $25 a day penalty about teeth?
I don't know. That's your decision. If you'd like it to be more, then
That was,
Thoughts?
I think that having a fine definitely will inspire somebody, a fine definitely will inspire somebody to come forward and apply for a permit sign, you know, because they're gonna get started paying the fee, you know, after a while.
or then I start collecting signs and then
Yeah.
find a place to put them, but
is there anything in there to prevent someone from getting a ticket, just coming in every,
yes, because you can't keep renewing them because you're only allowed so many days per year to have it out there.
Well-
If we do increase that, I think, when it goes to council, that has to have 2 readings. So we wouldn't be able to pass it in May, it would have to have a May reading and a June reading.
Leave it as is, it gets one reading.
Yes. If the council elects to suspend the rules and vote twice. So, am I right on that, Chris?
Yes.
Well, I did notice that that this wasn't being enforced. That's why I asked for the report in January on the sign ordinance implementation. So I'm glad to see that it's beginning to be looked at and developed here. I don't know whether the amount is, definitely there has to be a fine if there's going to be a time limit and expectations. I don't know if there's what the permit cost is. Is there permit cost?
$20.
$10 or $20.
Where is that?
It was 10 for an improvement location, or 20 for an improvement location permit,
10
10
for
for a
temporary
temporary sign.
Where is that? So theoretically, somebody come in once each quarter, they would be subject to $40
Yes.
in applications.
They're not cost prohibitive. Again, I don't think we want to discourage people from advertising special events or other things. We just don't want them to be up forever.
I agree. I'm just wondering if there's, in the interest of whether or not it's a business that is, they'd have to pay each quarter. I don't know, I'm just thinking aloud, that might be some way in which the business could get.
But we don't want to issue a permit and then not really know the time frame that they're planning on.
Well, I agree,
So-
I agree. I just don't know if a fee is required every time, I guess is what I'm asking. In order for an application to come in.
I'm trying to make sense of this, but they can only have it so many days out of the year, so can they actually come in 4 different times?
Yes.
They want it every 90 days.
As long as they haven't exceeded, there's so many days for the total calendar year,
It's written at
90 total. So, I mean, if they wanted to do, you know, a month a quarter, 3 weeks a quarter, and have, 12 weeks of it, they could do that.
I would note, I don't believe that I specifically put $10 in here. I think I said the cost of a temporary sign permit shall be set by the planning department with prior approval by the planning commission.
That's what it states.
That's your section 082, right?
Yes, and then on section, that's in
You referenced
155.
that section earlier in it.
Where? Yeah, okay, H, all right. So
Yes, H. And then, yeah. And then, in section 155.068, it just says that a temporary sign, the planning department is authorized to charge a fee for such permit as set forth in ordinance 155.082. So, if you want a specified number, I would put it in 155.082.
The prior ordinance had $6 if it was gonna be up less than 2 weeks, and 10 if it was gonna be more than 2 weeks. So make it simple, maybe just 10, I don't know.
Yeah, my idea of it was that I didn't want you to have to amend the ordinance every time you wanted to change the fee. Which actually is
But we do have
something.
the fee though
I
specified
do
for
have-
authorized,
For an
for
improvement.
For an
application
improvement.
approval.
I do, and that is an
So
excellent
we
point. So I can
either-
either do it either way. I can either make it so that they're both approved, the planning department sets them with prior approval from this body, or I can make them a set fee and then you just have to amend the ordinance and change it. You just tell me which way you want it.
I would think that we would want that be something that would be subject to the changes of circumstances.
So
I
I
mean,
will,
make it simpler.
Put the dollar fee in the ordinance.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Probably
either,
make it
it just,
simpler.
I mean, we've got a penalty fee in there, and that's substantial enough that it's not gonna change that quickly. If we do need to change it, we can, with the ordinance.
then I will modify 155.068 to say, planning department is authorized to charge a fee, striking of $20 for processing an application for an improvement location permit.
Subject to the approval of
Yes, subject to the approval of the planning commission.
You gotta work the same way for the temporary also?
Yes. Yeah, so that will make section A essentially match B, which is essentially 155.
Anybody from the audience have recommendation, thoughts? I would entertain a motion for approval of the amendments to the Sign Ordinance 2014-5 with the corrections that have been noted.
So moved.
City Attorney.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bruce, were you the second on
Opposed?
that?
Yes.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes.
I will make those
Move on
changes
to
and
the
send them to
council.
council.
Thank you. Second item for discussion is the licensing of sign installers.
A suggestion had come to the department about licensing sign installers within the city. We currently do not license any contractors, plumbers, electricians, or anything else. So this would be a new item that the city would take on. You know, if you, as a board, wanted to consider, you know, us having to license sign contractors when they're at permanent signs here in town.
And if I may, I think this is largely derived from the fact that under the new ordinance, sign contractors are potentially liable for costs if they did not obtain an improvement. The prior ordinance said that it was only the owners, and the new ordinance extends that. And I know we have had, through the planning department, at least one instance where that new ordinance has been put into effect for a sign company. So,
How would licensing make any difference?
I believe the only difference would be exclusivity, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that you're the only ones that can do it. I don't think it necessarily changes this because the ordinance as it stands says any sign company, whether you're licensed or not, if you put up a sign that's got the proper permit, you get fined.
So what's the rationale for, I mean, you said it was brought to you,
It was brought to our attention for consideration. I don't really see a need for it. I know we did have an issue with a sign company that was erecting a sign, but if you're a professional sign company, you know you need a permit. You're in the business. And if it's not one of their services they provide to the client, then before they put it up, they ought to ask the client, where's your sign permit? It's that easy, don't put it up unless you get it from your client or your client hand one to you.
Do we do this with any other licensing of other?
No electricians, no plumbers, no contractors, no general contractors, no nothing, and it would be, you know, something that would be taken care of down, you know, at Bridget's end. That would be an annual fee if we wanted to do it. We don't have a process in place right now. So, if we start doing it for signs, you know, I don't know. When you get electricians and plumbers, you've got people that have done this for years, and now they gotta go be an apprentice and do everything else, and not be able to do the contractor work that they've been doing forever, so. I really don't see a need for it, but since it was brought up to my attention, and you guys regulate signs, I thought I'd bring it up to your attention to see if you thought it was something worth exploring anymore or not. Mr. Chesney?
Again, I'm not sure where you're looking, Scott Chastain, Fire Chief. I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts are on this, but, and Glenn may know more on it. There was some legislation that was going through that actually communities can't do that. They can't, it was prohibiting communities from licensing electricians and contractors and so on. So if you think you're going to do it, you may do some research before you do it, because that was one of the things the legislature pushed through this year was, because there was some push to do some of that. Again, even for me to go and put a inspection fee on for rental properties, I can't do that. They put a moratorium on them and stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that even if you thought you wanted to do it, there's a good chance you might not be able to. So.
That was just going through our mind. I'm trying to think what happens at the end of the session. There's a lot of things
Yeah,
that
I'm not sure if
did
it
fly around there, and I know
Yeah.
it was discussed. I'd have to go back and really see whether or not it became enacted or not.
I don't know that it's necessary myself.
I think we're just picking on somebody and we're able to do that. I mean, you just sort people out from other occupations, you know, it's not like we're just saying, oh, just sign installers have to have it. You know, now we're gonna say, oh, well, you're gonna be plumbing in my house, and you have to obtain a permit. Well, they're in that profession, and make a living providing service, not penalize the homeowner or the person doing the job.
Is there, I don't know if there's any discussion.
Public discussion? Anybody?
I have a question, curious about other occupations, electricians, plumbers, etc. Set up to find any of those people if they don't pull a permit? Has any fines been given out in the last 5 years?
Not that I'm on.
I can answer that.
But
The deal is on permit, if you fail to get a permit and it's noted that you're found out not to have one, I know that one person had been fined double the cost of the permit. I know that happened.
when they came in to get the permit, because we found that they were not within one, they had to pay double in order to get the permit to get right with the city, so.
As a point of information, simply for the record, the first comment was made by Sean Green.
Sorry.
The second comment was made by Mayor Gary Herbert. The third comment was made by Scott Chastain, Fire Chief.
Second comment, Sean Green is, I don't believe in big business either, and, you know, more trouble to go through for businesses. But there is an open item that, you know, if a sign company does business with a customer and the customer says they get the permit and they don't get the permit, it kind of puts a sign company in a unique situation to take all the blame for it, which is a gray area, and I don't know what a good answer for that. Just a concern. Thank you.
thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you know, I've had to buy permits for electrical. I had to buy a permit, you know, for a car shelter, if you will. And whenever I got those permits, I had a green permit to post on the wall. I would think that it would be the same way for signage or anything to that degree too. During that process, it should be posted.
We actually stamp the permit approved and give the customer a copy.
They should be
That
posted.
pulls it. So it wouldn't be, if an owner pulled it and the sign installer asked for it, they ought to be able to give them a copy of it or show it to them before they did the work.
Thank you. Anybody else? We'll go to the next order of business.
Is there, do we any resolution on this, or this was just a matter
This
of?
was just discussion.
Okay.
Veterans Veterans Way discussion and proposed changes coming for the Seneca Landing plat and zoning.
As part of the Veterans Way project, we are getting a 100-foot right-of-way along County Road 150. And right at the northeast corner of Moscow Road and County Road 150, there was a previous development that was platted in, I believe, 2008 called Seneca Landing. And working with the property owners that own property abutting 150, they had requested, we had requested that they donate the right of way. As a condition of that donation, they asked us to vacate the existing plat because there's easements in there and everything that wouldn't really fit for new development. It was really set up for the plan that was in place at the time. So we are going to be looking to vacate that plat and replat it. So there will be a vacation document come before you, maybe at next month's meeting. And then a replat, changing some of the property lines around. There was about a 120-foot offset between Branch Street and Seneca. So one came in from the south, one came in from the north. That would have been a very unsafe condition with what we're planning for Veterans Way. So I'm trying to line those up and work with the bank on that. And all the property owners within that, there's Citizens Union Bank owns 3 of the parcels. Indian Apartment Project, which is a developer out of Ohio. I've sat down with them. They've agreed to the drawings that I've shown you. And then the bank has requested, they had a piece that was zoned R2 that they would like to have. I believe it's lot 3. That was zoned R2 that they have requested a B3 zoning on. Their property that's adjacent to County Road 150 is already zoned B3. So those are the changes that we're looking to do, and just wanted to inform you a little bit before we bring that forward next month. Nothing really to act on, but if you have any questions about what I sent you, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions from any member?
Not a question, just a comment. Something that would be helpful when we're doing this, these things are helpful if you can go out and take a look ahead of time. And I just failed to do that this time. But also seeing it in the context of where the big map that you got, I don't know if we can get a duplicate of that or if that can be brought in here on an easel so that.
Oh, the zoning map?
Yeah, so that we can see how things are laid out and a little bit clearer as to what you, in context would be helpful in the future as we do these things, particularly the zoning changes and things.
Sure, we can get a zoning map.
Which we can probably have that for next week.
Yeah, but I can plot that thing, we'll have it on the board or something.
Yeah, I don't, just a matter of moving it from one place to the next. It might be a little bit.
Or I can watch all 11 by 17 and keep it in your folder and go out if you want, so you have it.
That's
That's ready.
Yeah.
As well as the bigger one.
Yeah.
I gotta get.
And it has to be printed darker too. Many other things, contrast is not there.
Anybody from the audience?
So basically what we're doing, and it's just one of these things that we really don't have a real option because with the way that the changes in the road's gonna be, it necessitates adjustment.
It does.
And then the rezoning of the different classification already fits with what's already there.
Well, that we'll see.
Well, I mean, a certain portion of it, if you, Kevin had this one. It was lot 3 that was zoned to R2, lot 1 and and 2 were zoned.
Which are which here? If you can point them out here on me, that'd be helpful. Oh,
Lot 2 and Lot 1 were already zoned B3.
and how does that lay out with this? This is exactly the same way
No.
this is out?
They're almost the same. This road has shifted. This is public right-of-way. It's shifted over here to line with Brant, and this has shifted north to allow that same depth of Lot 2 after we take the 70-foot right-of-way.
Okay. All right, so that's shifting over there. I got you.
So that they were worried about the commercial viability of Lot 1 if we took 70 feet off the depth of that. So we moved that right of way 70 feet north so that same depth maintained, which is why we need to vacate the plat. And Board of Works is gonna need to approve the vacation of the already granted public right of way. So they're one of the people that are gonna have to sign the vacation document as well as the bank and the Indiana Apartment Project.
You expect that to be finished by next month?
I hope to.
Have we secured all the easements in that area for the
No,
first phase?
we have not yet. I haven't secured anything. I'm not sure the bank's really gonna give me property before I get their stuff done. So,
Well, an agreement on easements, I suppose.
we've got verbal agreements with just about everybody. I guess Chris would say we do have everybody, verbal agreements, so it's just a matter of, this is the last thing I need to clear up. And I've been working with a zoning attorney out of Indianapolis on how to, I've never really vacated a plat before with easements and right of way and everything. I've replatted certain portions of a prior plat, but never vacated a whole thing in its entirety with different owners. There's 4 different owners there that I had to work with to get all those drawings approved through them before I could move forward, so. But the redevelopment commission has tasked me with acquiring all of the right-of-way as much as I can before their next meeting, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Anything else on this?
No, nothing, just more information, just so, you know, to be aware, and if you have any questions after looking at it or driving out there, you know, I've got all sorts of drawings and everything else I can show you.
All right, thank you. We'll move to item report, status of unsafe buildings.
On our East Street project with Mr. Atkins, Mayor and I spoke with him today, told him he had 60 days to complete that. We were gonna start the process. He said he couldn't work in cold weather, the weather's broke. I understand there's rain and he doesn't want to tear up yard and other things with heavy equipment, but we figured 60 days was a reasonable amount of time. We said if he hadn't done that in 60 days, we're gonna go ahead and start the same process over again, and we paid, tear it down and put it in.
60 days as of today, or 60
Yes.
days as of when he was supposed to have had it finished to March 31?
60 days from today.
You did have a conversation with Mr. Atkins.
Yes, we did.
Strong conversation.
I
He
mean,
tried.
this thing is years. I mean, I understand we gotta give the man time, but I knew that we were gonna have this problem when we said yes to the person. And, you know, it's
He
just one more
informed us that he
time, one more
intended to
time.
be in there this week. We gave him an outside 60 days. He thought he would be able to get it done sooner.
because, you know, the last time when we spoke in November, or whenever it was, December, whatever it was, well, before that, we talked, that he had cleaned up some of it, but hadn't cleaned up all of it. We asked to go back and tell him he needed to get but there's been no follow-up, because the stuff is still there, just exactly the same way it was
Which is
3
why-
months or 4 months ago.
Which is why it was a strong conversation today. He was in before, and we told him there was still more that he could be cleaning up. And he chose not to.
All right.
The only other one that I believe is on the list was American Lifts, and that has been boarded up and closed the gate across the road, so you really can't get vehicles back there anymore.
I think I've come to a bad decision on that part because it limits access for the police to go back and patrol. So now people just walk back there and do their business. And prior, since that's happened, I thought I heard on the radio that it had been broken into once again.
I tried to get back there and really couldn't get back there and see, and it's a private property, no trespassing, they closed the gate, so I didn't even try back there and look at it, but every window had been boarded up and it had been secured. So, and then I did, I believe, copy you all a letter on the church out on Moscow Road that is in bad shape. They've been tearing, kids have been in there breaking windows and tearing out exterior walls, and part of the roof's collapsed in the old church building. And I sent a registered letter, and I have not heard anything back yet. So I don't know if
There is a 40-yard dumpster sitting there today.
Okay.
Now, what they're gonna do with it, I don't know, but there was a dumpster sitting there today, I drove by.
Okay.
I got to follow up with a couple
Sure.
things. Not
On the unsafe.
unsafe buildings, yeah. Not on these particular new topics, so I don't want
Anything from other?
Not on these topics. I got one topic after we get done with this.
I got a question. I could pull this off the computer. This confused me because I saw this up here.
Somebody caught that before it went out.
Okay.
I brought it to his
Yeah,
attention.
you brought it to my attention, and somebody else brought it, Scott brought it to my attention. So when I sent you, I corrected it before I actually got it in there.
Okay.
So,
Because I couldn't figure what connection was
yeah.
there.
Second time with that form that Chris had come up with, so I was in a hurry to get it out just based on the condition that fire chief and I saw the building.
Bruce?
Oh, the other topic I wanted to discuss, since Scott's here and didn't know if you were aware of it or not, kind of concerns me.
Vista Village.
Vista Village
Yep.
trailer park,
Yep.
by property, the
Yep.
pile of
Yep.
wood they put
Yep.
on the backside
Yep.
of that fence.
He's gonna chip that.
Next to the
We
group home.
talked to him today, yep.
Fire
Yep.
hazard, yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we noticed that, and he called into the station while we were in the truck and got out there pre-planning contacts and did that about 1 week and a half ago.
And we talked to the guy again today, and he verified that they were gonna chip it.
Any time given on this to get it?
I'll be on him again tomorrow. I'm gonna stay on him every day. I mean, again, it's not an unsafe structure situation, it's just an unsafe situation.
Yeah, I'd be concerned me because of the group home next door to it, if something were to set fire.
I'm not even sure where it all came from.
They trimmed them trees inside the trailer
Oh,
park
okay.
last fall.
Okay.
Kind of related question to that. Somebody contacted me about an open lot, kind of, it's inside town, and part of it's got a tree line in it that's been overgrown, and some bramble, and some limbs, and just a lot of dead wood kind of falling in brush, as well as, is there anything, I mean, it's sitting out there kind of not next to a group home, or not right next to a property per se, but it's, butts backyards all the way around. Is there anything that can be done about that property owner trying to clean up that, or is that just because it's kind of open, there's not a lot we can do?
I don't believe we have anything for down limbs or anything as far as ordinances at this point. We've got the weeds and we've got the tall grass. but
Right.
We don't down limbs or anything like that at this point, so.
The only
Really,
thing-
we really don't have a leg to stand.
The only thing we could do is have him clean up the line better with regard to the briars and the weeds. That could happen.
And you could have some, if I'm recalling the weed and vegetation ordinance, the grass ordinance on the top of my head, I believe there is some
Something there about
definitional language that we might be able to point to say this falls into that category, and then use that grass ordinance as a basis to try and persuade the owner to do what he's supposed to.
Take a look at that.
Like, we might also be able to look at the fire prevention section in the code, and if it's deeming a danger that if for some reason this would catch fire, it could cause a problem with the homeowners. We can
Yeah,
look and see. We can look and see if it actually falls in there,
Might have
and
to.
it could very easily under that part of it. But
That's probably a big
I'll be able to
restriction.
guarantee.
There is a place where that you can't contain, or you can do some compost, but you've got to make sure that it's contained because of the rubbish and the.
It's basically gonna be the same place that I'm talking with the gentleman of Vista Village about. Yeah, he's creating an unsafe situation,
Yeah.
and if they're just allowing the vegetation and the lumber and the, or not lumber, but tree limbs and stuff to accumulate, that's causing an unsafe manner. So I think we can probably pull it off.
Okay, we might need to talk about that.
If you can give me, property location. I can
Yeah,
look
I'll
up and
try
under.
and talk to you about it. Because right now it's just, I don't know that it's in the edge. I got three other little follow-ups. The YMCA has some fencing around the parking lot. Can you give us an update on what's happening there with that and with the property down on the corner here of Hotel?
They've started demolition in the Watson building in the Y, because of something they had to do for historic preservation. They had to start in the Watson building. So that's the red two-story on North Street. And then that demolition crew is gonna go into the Y, and as soon as they're done the Y, they're gonna start down there, so.
There's
we'll see.
nothing up down there kind of yet? as far as we know?
No, they have come to the city with a plan for fencing off the sidewalk on Franklin and setting dumpsters on those three parking spaces on the west side of Franklin. They're gonna have some trash chutes come down, but that work will start once they finish this.
We don't have a timeline.
No, they just said the crews are just gonna start, hopping when they get done. As soon as they get done one building, they do the next, they do the next.
But the crew has begun in the Watson building as of today.
No, they've been working about 2 weeks now.
Then the next question is a clarification. I'm trying to recall, and I probably should have written it, but I can't recall right now. The application for the dress factory, for that application to be turned into a housing area, did that get approved, or where is that?
That did get approved. I had heard they were supposed to close within 30 days after
Mhm, that's what I recall you saying.
that notification. I have not gone to check and see if that closing has happened. Usually takes the county a little while on their GIS system to update that, but
Is there any way you could have your person or somebody contact the people and find out what their status is and what the progress is? I mean, it's.
They didn't do full architectural. I know they're working on that right now, the architectural plans. And last time I talked to Dawn Galloway from Keller, she thought they might see construction activity in that building around the end of the year. That was the last schedule I
We're
had.
probably just gonna look at broken windows and all that for another 6 months.
Unless we want to spend money to go
No,
build them
I
up again.
agree, I'm just
No.
stating facts.
So they haven't exactly taken ownership of the building as of yet, is that what you're saying?
I can't confirm that or not. When they informed me that they did receive all of their tax credits that they applied for and that they would be moving forward, they indicated to me they had a 30-day period in which they were supposed to have closed. Now, I don't know if that agreement had been modified or anything else, but that was the last I had heard about them, a time frame for them to acquire the building.
I'd like to find that out for sure, because that way then they can go and be as far as maintaining the outside of the property as well
Correct.
through the summer.
Mhm.
Start to clean it
You
up.
guys spent a lot of time and effort on that building,
Back up.
cleaning that up.
I want to go back to the Decatur Apartments. Has anything been done to that? Because that was the worst building of the three, you know.
There-
Have they done anything to that to secure that from the weather or anything anymore? I mean,
They
that's gotta
had it,
be
they
the
had it
worst building.
secured from the weather and.
They have done that, yeah.
And, well, Scott helped them secure some of the windows that were broken out up before. They've done some work, they haven't done much more, and
It
they,
it still looks, that's got to be the worst building of the three and the most dangerous, I would think. And I would have thought they would at least put something on their roof, you know, to keep it from collapsing.
well, that's a false roof. That had a flat roof to begin
Yeah,
with.
they put a temporary roof structure up there,
Okay.
and then they covered it, that's what they did.
So it's not, it won't.
Well, the
no
part that
structural
you
damage.
saw torn off that was falling down, that was like what Dr. Watson did. He had a flat roof and he just put a peak roof on his building.
But is this, the flat roof still safe